Chapter 1. The Call to Power. The phone rings in the dim glow of a Washington evening. It's October 1987, and the air hums with the quiet tension of a city that knows power is about to shift. Judge Robert H. Bork sits in his study, the weight of the moment pressing against his shoulders. The voice on the other end is President Ronald Reagan's Chief of Staff, Donald Reagan. The words are simple, but their implications are seismic. The President wants to see you tomorrow. Bork exhales slowly. He has spent decades shaping the law, teaching it, arguing it first as a young professor at Yale, then as a federal judge, and finally as the architect of Reagan's judicial philosophy. But this call is different. This is the call to power. Not just any power, but the power to reshape the Supreme Court. The next morning, Bork walks through the doors of the White House, his mind racing. The Supreme Court vacancy left by Justice Lewis Powell is more than an opening gate, a battleground. Reagan's conservative base demands a judge who will roll back decades of liberal rulings. The left, already mobilized, sees Bork as a threat to everything from civil rights to privacy. And Bork himself, he knows the stakes. He has spent years writing, speaking, and fighting for a vision of the Constitution that is strict, original, and unyielding. In the Oval Office, Reagan greets him warmly. The President is direct. Bob, I need a justice who understands the Constitution as it was meant to be. Not as some living document that changes with the times. You're the man for the job. Bork doesn't hesitate. Mr. President, I'll do it. But even as he says the words, he knows the fight has only just begun. The Senate confirmation hearings are a storm waiting to break. The Judiciary Committee, led by Senator Joe Biden, is already preparing. The left has weaponized Bork's own word-choose articles, his speeches, his uncompromising stance on issues like abortion, civil rights, and executive power. The term Borking hasn't been coined yet, but the strategy is clear. Paint him as an extremist, a danger to the very fabric of American democracy. Bork's allies rally. Attorney General Edwin Meese calls him the most qualified nominee in modern history. Conservative legal scholars praise his intellect, his discipline, his unwavering commitment to the Constitution. But the opposition is fierce. Liberal groups flood the Senate with letters, phone calls, and protests. The media frames the debate as a clash of ideologies, a referendum on the soul of the nation. And then the hearings begin. The room is packed. Cameras flash. Senators lean forward, their questions sharp, their tones measured. Biden opens with a question that cuts to the heart of the matter. Judge Bork, do you believe the Constitution is a living document, or is it fixed in time? Bork doesn't flinch. The Constitution is not a living organism. It is a legal document, and its meaning is determined by its texts and history, not by the whims of the moment. The room erupts. The left sees arrogance. The right sees principle. And the American people, watching on television, see a battle that will define their future. The hearings drag on for days. Bork is grilled on his views, his past rulings, his personal beliefs. Every answer is scrutinized, every pause dissected. The media spins the narrative of Bork as a villain, the Senate as the last line of defense against judicial tyranny. But Bork is no stranger to controversy. He has spent his career challenging the status quo, arguing that the courts have overstepped their bounds. Now, he is the one in the crosshairs, and he refuses to back down. You're asking me to renounce my beliefs, he tells the committee at one point. But I cannot. I was nominated because of those beliefs, not in spite of them. The response is swift. The Senate, swayed by public pressure, begins to turn. One by one, moderate Republicans break ranks. The vote is called. The result is inevitable. On October 23, 1987, the Senate rejects Robert Bork's nomination by a vote of 58 to 42. The defeat is crushing, but the fight is far from over. In the months that follow, Bork reflects on what happened. He writes, he speaks, he fights. The term Borking enters the political lexicon, a warning to future nominees about the perils of ideological purity. But Bork himself remains unbowed. He has lost the battle, but the war for the soul of the Supreme Court is just beginning, and as the cameras fade and the microphones are turned off, one thing becomes clear. The bench and the bomb have collided, and America will never be the same. To be continued.